Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. Served by Reverend Nathan Ryan, Reverend Eric Poza, me, Leslie Reynolds, is your ministerial intern. And our ministries would not thrive without the collaborative support of Lee Hartman, our music director, Kathy Smith, our director of religious education, who will be running chat today, and our newest member in the Tech Treehouse, Dave Como. We welcome to the virtual pulpit today Reverend Deanna Vandiver. She is an affiliated minister for the Church of Larger Fellowship, where her title is Minister for Love and Liberation. You gotta love that title, Minister for Love and Liberation. Reverend Deanna Vandiver served on the board of First Church in New Orleans before, during, and after Hurricane Katrina. She co-directed the Center for Ethical Living and Social Justice Renewal with Ruth Idakula, and is now part of the Beloved Conversations virtual design team. And a note, Beloved Conversations Virtual will start again this fall. Already 1,200 UUs have participated this spring, and we want to invite you to be in that number, friends. This is the seed that can help us grow into beloved community. It plants the seed of love that people are craving. Welcome, Reverend Deanna Vandiver.
Beloveds, it is an honor and a joy to join you in worship today and to bear witness to the many seeds of love that this congregation has planted in our world. And the seeds of love that we plant within, among, beyond us today and all days going forward. I give thanks for this faithful practice, for you, faithful beloveds. Cosmologist Dr. Brian Swimme, in his Canticle to the Cosmos, declares that every child should be told, you come out of the energy that gave birth to the universe. Its story is your story. Its beginnings are your beginnings. Friends, today we bear witness to our beginnings, from the everything seed to our very being, and the truth that each day we are called to begin again in love. Come, friends, let us worship together.
As we begin worship in song, we offer this well-known beloved hymn that was first recorded for last year's amazing Pride worship service. We offer it this morning because the seeds of love encourage us to till and tend and grow, that all of our lights will shine bright with justice, love, and liberation.
This little light of mine Good morning. As we get started with the lesson, Reverend Dee asked me to tell you a little bit about why we chose this book. The title is The Everything Seed. It's written by Carol Martignaco and illustrated by Joy Troiner. Part of the reason why we chose it is because the illustrations are beautiful. Joy Troiner is an artist who works in cloth, and these illustrations are done by batik, which is a process of drawing with wax on cloth and then dipping the cloth into dye and repeating the process until it looks like the artist envisioned it. But I think one of the other reasons is because Unitarian Universalists believe in seeds. Sounds a little silly to say, I know, but we do. I've never been a part of a Unitarian church that didn't have things growing somewhere. And I think that Unitarian Universalists think of seeds also as a metaphor, a word picture. I think we see seeds of hope and growth. I think we see seeds as mystery and wonder. And I think that we see them also as a way of talking about how everything is connected. Because, of course, you can't just grow a seed by holding it in the palm of your hand. A seed needs dirt and bugs and rain and sun. All of those things are connected in ways that we are beginning to understand, but don't understand fully. And that connection and the way the seeds grow, just like the way the seeds of hope and mystery and wonder grow, is part of what Unitarian Universalists draw hope and joy from. And it is part of what we look to for our source of mystery and wonder. So without further ado, the Everything Seed.
Have you ever watched a seed grow? Have you ever noticed how it begins so small, so still, so quiet, like a gift waiting to be opened?
And how slowly it wakes up, begins to unfold, growing into something larger and larger and larger. Then you know that whatever comes from a seed usually ends up looking very little like the seed it came from, which is also true of the very first seed.
Once, long, long ago, way back before the beginning, so long ago there was no such thing as time because there was no one there to count it. Everywhere was a huge, deep, mysterious place, like something waiting to happen. There were no stars, no sun, no moon. There was no place like Earth, not a drop of water or a single tree or rock or flower, and no living beings anywhere.
But in that deep, waiting space was hidden the tiniest point of something no bigger than a seed. It was not a flower seed. It was not an oak tree seed. It was not a seed of corn, although all those things were included in the seed.
You might call it an everything seed, because that is what it became. No one knows where the first seed came from, or how it was planted, or how it knew in the way that only seeds seem to know, how long to wait for just the right moment to sprout and grow.
But all at once, this tiny seed, cradled and nourished in the rich soil of space, woke up, broke open, and began to unfold. Unfolding, unfolding,
and blossoming forth into an enormous, blazing ball of bright light, like a great grandmother's sun.
And the universe was born.
This community of faith has a ritual of placing stones around our chalice as a way to hold up and lift up members of the congregation who may need a little extra love right now. I lift up these names. Carrie Patterson, whose uncle Reese Patterson passed away last Friday. We send love to Aaron Sheehan Dean's mother for a speedy recovery after recent hospitalization. And extra love to Rose Howe's 94-year-old mother who is having a rough time recovering after hospitalization and surgery for a broken hip. So now if you have members, loved ones in your heart that you would like to lift up and be held by this community in love, please place their names in the chat. Or if you'd like to keep the name private, you can just enter in an asterisk and I will place the stones for you. As we light the chalice of our heritage, please say these words along with me. With hope to make a better world, we light this flame. Its light is a symbol of the power of love.
Out fluttered the galaxies like a storm of snowflakes swirling and gathering into the brightest, most blindingly beautiful clouds of stars. And out of those star clouds whirled our own star, the one we call the sun, and our earth, and our moon, and all the round spinning planets we have learned how to name.
And this is the secret of that tiny seed. You and I were there at the very beginning, just as the idea for each leaf on a big oak tree lies hidden inside an acorn.
We were there with all the stars and planets, all the rocks and oceans, plants and animals and people. Everything that is now, ever was, or ever will be was hidden inside that tiny first seed.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain,
the Earth. One planet, round, global, so that when you trace its shape with your finger, you end up where you started.
It's one, it's whole. All the dotted lines we draw on our maps of this globe are just that, dotted lines. They smear easily. Oceans can be crossed. Mountains can be crossed.
Even the desert can be crossed. The grain that grows on one side of the border tastes just as good as the grain on the other side. Moreover, bread made from rice is just as nourishing to body and spirit as bread made from corn or spelt or teft or wheat or barley.
There is no superior land, no chosen site, no divine destiny falling on any one nation who draws those dotted lines just so. There is only one earth we all share, we, the living, with all else that lives and does not live.
Iris, granite, wave, city, cornfield, prophet, beggar, child, slum, tower, mine, robin, eel, grandfather, rose, olive branch, bayonet, and this poem and moment are all within the circle, undivided by dotted lines or final certainties.
Everything, everything for good or ill is part of the shared whole. Sky, earth, song, words, and now this silence.
Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus ibi est.
Let us join together in prayer. Spirit of life, love, and liberation, This community of faith works and plays together for a world with a foundation of peace and justice. We felt some collective relief to hear that a police person who shot and killed George Floyd last summer was held accountable by the criminal injustice system, only to hear later that day that police had killed 16-year-young Ma'Khia Bryant. And each day we cry in grief and disbelief as more names are added to the list of racial injustice and police violence. Guide us and strengthen us as we continue to embody what love and liberation feels like and looks like. Hold this community as we sometimes struggle together, finding new ways of accountability and forgiveness and justice. This community of faith holds each other as dear beloveds and misses each other. As we begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel, as science offers some solutions for the pandemic, we also hold that love tightly and brightly, wanting each of us to be safe, and knowing that that safety for the collective just isn't here yet. And we will hold that love that keeps us bound in liberation together, even as we still must maintain our physical distance. Remind us to honor that love, these seeds of love that grow in the fertile soil of this community, working for peace and justice together, building the garden of beloved community together. This congregation's ancestors and elders have tilled and tended this soil. Our adults and young adults keep planting the seeds, and our youth and youngest reflect our faith and values back to us as we watch them grow, bloom, and shine bright. May these seeds of love continue to shine in perennial bloom. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be.
So, whenever you hold a seed in your hand and wonder what it could become, imagine how you and all that is here once came from the tiniest speck of an everything seed before it sprouted and grew long, long ago in the way back beginning of time.
Now, if this were an ordinary story, it would end right here. But this story of the universe keeps on unfolding. What once began in a blazing blossom of light continues every day.
New stars sprout open in the deep soil of space. New plants and animals appear on the earth.
Seeds of many kinds are scattered everywhere to help us remember.
And new people are born every day with the spark of that first light still alive and burning deep inside, waiting.
Like the everything seed, to shine in ways that are yet to be known.
Hello, friends. Our flower ceremony is coming up on May 2nd, and we want you to participate in it. You might remember during Christmas last year, we got a lot of videos of you receiving a lighted candle on one side of the screen and then passing it off to somebody else. And we made this beautiful montage of you all to symbolize the passing of the light in the congregation. we're going to do something similar for flower ceremony. And when Norbert Chopet created the flower ceremony, they would do it at the beginning of summer because they actually would close the churches down in the summertime. And so it was a way to kind of symbolize the care and concern we have for each other that we would be taking home with us when we wouldn't be able to see each other for a while. And that seems particularly appropriate during COVID times. So on May 25th, on Sunday, May 25th, Kathy, Judy, and Suzanne Bess are going to set up some vases in the patio area at the church. And we're asking you to come by and bring a flower or flowers to symbolize your family. And then we want you to place the flower or flowers in the vase. And then we want you to take a picture of the new bouquet that you have created that shows you now in this congregation of flowers. So take that picture. And then choose the flower that you're going to bring home. And this flower symbolizes the tender soul in this congregation that you are bringing home with you to admire and care for and appreciate. So take those two pictures and email them to me at intern@unitarianchurchbr.com. And then we will make some spectacular magic that you will be able to then see on the flower ceremony on May 2nd. So you have all week between Sunday, April 25th and Sunday, May 2nd. Actually, you have until Friday to take the pictures and to send them to me. And I hope that this experience, even though it's an odd time with COVID and everything, but we still get to honor our traditions that are important to us. So I look forward to seeing you on May 2nd.
Take a few minutes to pay attention to your breath. Breathe in slowly and allow the breath to fill your lungs and make your belly rise. Breathe out slowly. If you're able, feel your body relaxing. As you breathe in and out, invite the relaxation to spread through your body, starting with your toes, if toes is where you start, and moving up through legs, into hips, into your chest, back, maybe your arms. If you can, relax your face and neck. Allow as much as possible for your whole body to be completely relaxed, as comfortable as you know how. And from this place of ease, imagine that you are a seed. This seed can become anything you dream of. Imagine that you have been planted somewhere safe and warm. It is a special place, and you feel loved and happy. You are filled with love in your heart. And as that seed, you begin to sprout and grow. What does it feel like in your body to grow? Now, you start to notice that you are changing. You're no longer that tiny seed. What are you becoming, friend? What does your growing body look like? How does it feel to be you? Imagine yourself moving around in the safe place where you were planted. What do you do? Take a breath in and out. As you are ready, imagine yourself changing again, slowly returning from the being you've grown into to your human self, the being you are always growing into. I will count backwards from 10. When I get to the number 1, y'all are invited to take a clearing breath, sharpen your awareness, rejoin this human collective in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome home, beloveds.
As we rejoin this human collective of beloveds, it is now time to honor our spiritual practice of planting seeds of love and liberation to continue the work of this congregation. You can now participate in the offering. Kathy will enter all the wonderful ways that you can give to the ministries of this church. In faith and love, we accept your offerings with deep gratitude.
Friends, I offer so much gratitude to y'all for having me this morning. Deep gratitude to Reverend Eric, who invited me to join you in worship again. June will mark 3 years since I left my Louisiana home to answer the call of love in the Pacific Northwest. And Eric was waiting here, where I live nearly, in Olympia, interim minister there, and welcomed me to preach in that place as well. I give thanks for the seeds of love that we nourish across time and space. I hold y'all in my heart in these days, even across these many miles, and I'm grateful to be with you today. I also offer gratitude to Leslie and Kathy and Lee and everyone who collaborated in the co-creation of today's worship service. Y'all, it is a wonder what is possible when friends and beloveds turn towards each other with care and nurture these seeds of love. You know, the everything seed held
everything. And here we are, each of us growing into our own humanity, gardeners of the soul, faithfully selecting what we nurture, what we weed. As our spiritual ancestor, Hosea Ballou, a minister who converted to Universalism from the Baptist tradition in 1789, preached, "Hell is what human beings created in this world by cruelty and greed. Paradise is also available here and now, manifest in beauty and marked by relationships of justice and care." While we do not necessarily get much choice in where we grow, most of us have choice about what we nurture in our lives and what kind of humans we grow into as bits of universe seeds ourselves. Emma's Revolution sang with us when the congregations of the Greater New Orleans Unitarian Universalist Cluster ordained me in 2012. Some of you watching now may remember we sang, "Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time and give it love. Give it love." We have a responsibility to hold the power of love that we know to be true and not allow the world around us to deaden that in ourselves. These words by Lucas Johnson of the International Fellowship of Reconciliation remind us that in the face of struggle, grief, rage, sadness, discomfort, anxiety, fear, many of the emotions on the side of the feelings wheel that some of us have been conditioned to avoid at all costs, and some of us live in daily. Here we are, once again, enduring times, now living through what I have been calling Pandemic 2.0 since we passed the 1-year mark of the shelter-in-place orders. Again and again, friends, we are called to nurture the seeds of love for ourselves, for each other, and for this planet. As Unitarian Universalist minister and Parker Woodland Band member Aaron Walter offers, the wild trick of life is facing pain and injustice head on, while also basking in beauty, art, community, and all the good stuff that persists in spite of tyrants and violence. I joined many around the world this week waiting for the verdict in the Hennepin County case against Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. I had recently seen a reflection that the only thing that had changed since Rodney King was beaten by the LAPD and the recorded murder of George Floyd by the Minneapolis Police Department was the improved technology and the quality of the footage. I pray that is not so, friends. A coworker texted she was praying to a God she didn't believe in, that a guilty verdict might actually be possible. Please, please, pretty please. And then the verdict was being read aloud. Guilty. Guilty on all 3 charges. Guilty of 3 counts of murder. Guilty. At last, a guilty verdict rendered, an episode of systemic state violence held accountable by a jury of neighbors. At last. And as Congressperson Ayanna Pressley has expressed, to be clear, the legal system in America remains deeply unjust. No one should die the way George Floyd did. A person's murder should not have to garner global attention to result in accountability. And this verdict does not bring George Floyd back to his family. And just as some folks began to take a breath after holding it for so long and wonder if it could be true, is the system starting to shift? Will Black Lives Matter in court too? A police officer in Columbus, Ohio, shot and killed Ma'Khia Bryant, a 16-year-old girl. Yes, a Black girl. Yes, a white cop. Yes, barely even a moment of hopeful witness before the rage and sorrow tore through us to address more violence against beloveds. And so I reached out to friends, organizers, soulmates, and beloveds reached out to me, and we celebrated and we grieved and we raged and we prayed and we imagined collective liberation together, nurturing all the love we could find in our bones for ourselves, for each other, for this planet. Together, we practiced facing pain and injustice head on while also basking in beauty, art, community, and all the good stuff that persists in spite of tyrants and violence. Desiree Attaway, co-founder of Freedom School modules in the Attaway Group, teaches that liberation begins when we start to experience ourselves differently in the world. We honor multiple truths and understand that we are experts in our own experience only. We confront the worst in society and ourselves so we can experience the best, the most beautiful, the most just. We decide how we live. We decide who we love. We decide what liberation looks like. Innovation and creativity are essential to combat cynicism and heartbreak. At the center of our lives, she says, should be balance, joy, happiness, security, support, and deep relationships. I wish it for every one of us. And I give great thanks that joy, beauty, balance, support, none of these have to wait for the struggle to be over. We can celebrate seeds of love and liberation even as we mourn, even as we organize. Paradise, love, liberation, expansive concepts, yes. Big picture faith words, yes. And also millions of tiny acts of kindness and generosity, imagination practice, water and time, sowing and growing possibilities for how we are in relationship with ourselves, with each other, and with this planet. Sometime after I moved to New Orleans in 2000, I heard this poem. I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling and catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that what came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. Some poems are created to be heard, if possible, not just read, to become embodied. And the last few words of this poem that I heard lodged in my bones like a prayer fragment rattling with me across 2 decades, calling me to live so that which came to me as seed goes to the next as blossom, and that which came to me as blossom goes on as fruit. Take the seed that you have and plant it here, beloveds. Give it water and time and so much love. Choose to grow paradise together, manifest in beauty and marked by relationships of justice and care. May we choose to live so that which came to us as seed goes to the next generation as blossom, and that which came to us as blossom goes on as fruit. May we tend faithfully to the seeds of love, dear ones.
My life flows on in endless song.
Friends, thank you for joining us this morning. And please pay attention to the bulletin that comes out weekly and the website for all the opportunities you have to come and plant your seeds of liberation in this congregation. May the love and hope embedded in this service bloom with you all week long until we see you again next week for the flower ceremony. Go now in peace and liberation.